Hello and welcome to the WABT training webinar, the part 4, Conscientiousness, the third factor of the Big Five model. Conscientiousness is a tendency to be organized and dependable, to show self-discipline, act dutifully, aim for achievement, and prefer planned rather than spontaneous behavior, a contemplative approach to problem solving. The first trait is results-oriented, the degree of importance that the person places on targets in relation to personal consideration. The advantage of having a lower result orientation is that they can mostly demonstrate flexibility regarding the achievement of objectives, especially when people are experiencing difficulties. They are going to be aware of their needs. Disadvantage is that they can sometimes be too indulgent toward these people who are experiencing difficulties and may sometimes have difficulty focusing her attention or his attention on achieving the results. The advantage of being result-oriented is that they make the necessary effort to achieve what they needs to be done, reaching their deadlines, reaching their goals. They consider effectiveness and efficiency to be essential in the workplace. A disadvantage of being very result-oriented could be to come across as uncompromising in terms of achieving result, and also being overly demanding of him or from herself, and also toward others. An example item regarding result orientation is the well-being of people at work is more important than productivity. Regarding result orientation, we can take a look at the traits of action orientation in the emotional stability and all the factor of agreeableness. The work orientation. The importance that an individual places on his or her work or personal life as well as his or her level of comfort with competition in the workplace. A lower level of work orientation means people who generally places great importance to our personal lives and are generally happy in a workplace where it's not necessary to overachieve or to necessarily set high standards for themselves. They are more effective in an uncompetitive environment. A disadvantage of not being work-oriented is that they may lose motivation in a competitive work environment, as previously, and these people are generally not comfortable in situations where they need to exceed expectations, and also they do not usually enjoy extended working hours or overtime. An advantage of being work-oriented is that these people generally set high standards for themselves at work, and they're generally fully prepared also to work long hours in order to meet their goals or the goals of the team. A disadvantage is that they could be bored in a work environment that do not encourage challenging oneself and also making extra hours. They enjoy competition in the workplace, and so they may not feel fulfilled in an environment favoring collaborative work. A simple item is when I have to choose between work and leisure, I often choose work. All of the factor of emotional stability that we are going to see in the next part is important to consider in order to appreciate the level of work orientation. Responsibility. This third trait is a person's tendency to fulfill his or her commitments and to follow the existing rules and procedure. When you don't have a high level of responsibility, the advantage is that you usually does not waste time making sure that work is accurate and precise, and it's easier to display flexibility in choice of methods for achieving results. These persons also generally adjust decisions and actions to meet organizational expectations. They are flexible. A disadvantage, of course, of having a lower level of responsibility is that they may sometimes deliver work that is not precise or that contains errors. They does not always respect established work rules and procedures, and they does not systematically fulfill their work commitments. Having a higher level of responsibility means generally people who are meticulous in performing their job responsibilities. They have a stronger tendency to follow the established rules and procedures and to assume their responsibility for their actions. On the other hand, they may have difficulty working in an environment where quick achievement or result is expected, and because of preference for following the rules, they may feel uncomfortable looking outside the box to resolve problems. An example of item could be at work. Sometimes the ends justifies the mean. A sample item is at work. Sometimes the end justifies the means. The traits of result orientation, cognitive approach, and independence of mind are useful in order to make link with the traits of responsibility. Organization, the way a person plans his or her activities, structures his or her work, and manages time at work. Someone who's not organized works well in an environment where tasks changes frequently and quickly. They're flexible in terms of their work schedule, and they are comfortable also operating without strict work methods or structure. On the other hand, they rarely plan before acting, which can impede the attainment of their goals, and they may have difficulty organizing their work schedule also. People who are very organized prefer structures in their daily tasks. They prefer to adopt a methodical approach to their work, and they more effectively manage their time and deadlines. A disadvantage of being a lot organized is maybe less satisfied working in an environment without sufficient structure, and they also may lack spontaneity and maybe spend too much time planning tasks. They also finally may have difficulty working in an environment where he or she is not in control of their own schedule. A sample of item could be my work schedule is always planned out, and again, result orientation, peace of mind, and stress resistance are useful in order to appreciate the trait of our organization. The cognitive approach is the degree and the volume of information required to make a decision or to take action on the job. People who have a lower level of cognitive approach have the advantage of being capable of making decisions even when they only have minimal information. They usually perform global analysis of problems, and they can make decisions even when the issues in questions are somewhat ambiguous. Disadvantage, on the other hand, is that they devote little energy, generally, to detailed analysis of the information relating to an issue. They also may overlook certain critical information in making decisions. An advantage of having a higher level of cognitive approach is they usually analyze problems in details, and they identify also every element before making a decision. They prefer to have all the information before making a decision. They leave usually nothing to chance when it comes to analyzing situation, and are generally conscious when making decisions. Disadvantage could be having difficulty making decisions without having all the information in hand, and also sometimes wasting time analyzing data when a decision needs to be made quickly. A sample item could be at work. I make sure that I have all elements in hand before taking action. The traits of result orientation, independence of mind, and complexity, the next trait, are useful regarding the cognitive approach. And finally, the last trait of conscientiousness is complexity, the preferred approach to problem solving and the type of action plan typically produced by a person. A lower level of complexity has the advantage of analyzing problems by relying mainly on intuition. They usually adapts easily when it's necessary to make decisions quickly without using a structured approach. The disadvantage of a lower score in complexity is difficulty in situations that require logical reasoning, and they also may have problems when a rational decision-making approach is required. They finally may have difficulty when complex action plans needs to be prepared. People with a high level of complexity have the advantage of analyzing problems using usually a structure, a rational even logical approach. They also base their decision on solid logical reasoning, and they prepares plans that take account for every contingency. A disadvantage, well, a bit such as the cognitive approach, they may have difficulty working in an environment that encourages simpler approach, or when you don't necessarily have the time to use more complex ones. They may also derive as little satisfaction when his or her responsibilities do not require a logical or analytical approach. A simple item is, above all, work decisions must be based on logical reasoning and not on intuition. The trait of cognitive approach that we just see is useful to appreciate the level of complexity regarding the objective of the evaluation.